In today's video, I'm going to be talking all about one of my favorite Final Fantasy games, Final Fantasy IX. I'm going to be unboxing this Switch Remaster version, but that's not all. I'm also going to be looking back at the original and unboxing this wonderful game. So come with me today as I explore this wonderful, timeless masterpiece. Hello everybody out there, welcome to another episode. My name is Ryan and this is my YouTube channel, Nostalgic Nick-Nacks, and in this channel I like to talk about all things nostalgia and retro video games. And not only is today's title nostalgic for me, but it's also such a wonderful game to play for the modern day gamer in its own right. Yes, I'm talking about Final Fantasy IX. I'm going to be talking about this game today, talking about the differences between it and the original, and asking the question, is it worth it? Let's go ahead and jump into a few things about Final Fantasy IX and why I love this game so much. So Final Fantasy IX was actually a game that was very anticipated for its time, and of course, on the original PlayStation, you had such big blockbuster hits as Final Fantasy VII and the follow-up to it, Final Fantasy VIII. Of course, when I started hearing about Final Fantasy IX and what great things they were going to be doing with this game, I just couldn't wait for it. And I actually got it for Christmas in the year 2000 when it came out, and it did not disappoint. We had Final Fantasies coming out every year, and it's something you definitely don't see now, but back then it was expected. I really expected to play the next Final Fantasy at Christmas. I look back at it and I say, man, I was really spoiled back then. I really miss those days. It was such a return to medieval Final Fantasy and black mages and knights and princesses and heroes, and it was so welcome after being drenched in this more modern take on Final Fantasy with 7 and 8. It's a very realistic look, and also it was a much more lighthearted story. Of course, it had some dark moments, definitely. It was a game that tugged at your heartstrings, but also had a great sense of adventure. One of my favorite memories of this game is playing it when we first got it. Both me and my sister, we really enjoyed it, the whole game overall, but in particular, when I think about this game, I think about the moments. There's this forest in the game, and you're going through it. It's kind of near the beginning, and you're going through this forest, battling enemies, and doing the whole dungeon thing. And then when you're starting to leave, the forest is kind of enraptured, it's enchanted in some way, and it's going to try to trap you in. And at that moment, you feel like this game is just so awesome. And it's so fantastical, so fantasy driven, and I love just that memory of this forest trapping you in and you're trying to get out at just the last second. And there were so many moments just like that in this game. Now the story itself is really great, but the characters of course make a Final Fantasy what it is. And this story was all about Zidane, the main character, and his struggles. But you also had Garnet as the princess and her struggles, and kind of a love story that develops between the two of them. That's kind of the main story, but you also have some other issues that are bigger than them happening in the story. One of my most favorite characters from this game is Vivi, the black mage, who just really steals your heart in this game. He steals the show. And some very, very big questions that he has as a black mage that get explored in the game. You also have a really great comedic character with such a comedic face, Steiner, the knight. Such a kind-hearted knight that's just there to really help everybody. And he's a wonderful character. And another great thing about this game, if you never heard about it, the battle system and the character growth system through that is just really fantastic. You don't have materia, you don't get your abilities from the eidolons or the summons. You actually equip the swords, you equip all of the armor, and you gain the skills from using that armor and those swords. So it actually gives the equipment quite a big purpose throughout this game, which is really cool, and it makes me excited to find new pieces of equipment, new weapons, because you want to see what kind of skill you're going to be getting. This game also harkens back to the older medieval Final Fantasies, the Final Fantasies of the Super Nintendo and the Nintendo, talking about Final Fantasy 1 through 6, and it really brings back that job system, not in the sense that you can trade the jobs out like Final Fantasy V or Final Fantasy III, but more like in Final Fantasy IV, where you had these jobs that were cemented with each character, but that character really did thrive in that job and those unique abilities. And I really appreciate that because it also helps to define the characters in a unique way. So what's different about this remaster of Final Fantasy IX? Well, this game actually came out about 6 years ago on the Nintendo Switch, so I'm kind of late to the game, but I thought it's a great game to come back to talk about. But here are some of the quick differences. So just like Final Fantasy VII and Final Fantasy VIII, the graphics, the character models were updated, but the background models were not really updated. They're kind of blurry in comparison to the high resolution character models. Not sure why that's the case, but it is. But that really is the only downside in my opinion. There are some differences in the options that you have, the quality of life improvements. So you do have in the battle, you can speed it up, you can speed up your character walking around the map. You can, there's an autosave feature where every time you go to the next screen, it automatically saves your game. I really enjoyed playing the game overall on the Switch. It's a portable way to play it, and back in the day I never had that opportunity. I was always tied to the PlayStation as I was playing it, and you know, it's great to be able to go back to these games and play them portably. It's just such a radical difference that gamers, kids growing up now, teenagers, just can't relate to it because they never had that experience to start with. I'm actually going to go over some of the visual differences in a video I found. I'm going to comment throughout that video, so I'm going to go to that now, and then after that we're going to get into the unboxing and show you what all is involved with Final Fantasy IX and look at the original in its beautiful box here. Okay everybody, so let's go ahead and look at the remastered Final Fantasy IX versus the original, and I'm just going to quickly comment on what I'm seeing here just to give you an idea of what the differences actually are visually in these games. So first up, you can see that we have some brighter colors going on the remastered with this cutscene. It just overall looks much brighter. There are some more detail in this cutscene in particular. Even the pigeons look better. I have to say, give it up for the pigeons. Really nice, clear pictures, brighter pictures. This is a welcome addition to the game. I had no idea that the original was actually this dark, but now looking back at it, I can see it was. So you can see here that there is a lot of darkness going on here, and then on the remastered, much brighter. It's again amazing that I could see anything back in the day when I played this. Yes, let's please light the candle because you cannot see anything. So just want to look at the differences in the background in this remaster versus the original. So in the original, really hard to see anything here to discern differences. But you look at the background in the remastered, of course, things are brighter. But if you look at the character model, just like the Final Fantasy VII and Final Fantasy VIII games, you do have a difference between the character model and the background. It's a shame that they couldn't make both of them sharp, but usually with these types of things, they got to go with a choice. And in this case, just as the other two games, they chose to make the characters look better. And I appreciate that. I wish they could have gone farther, but you know, it is what it is. Okay, so hopefully that gave you an idea of the visual differences and how a lot of the cinematics were really improved and a lot brighter than that original. I was surprised looking back at how dark those screens looked. All right, so let's go ahead and go to the unboxing of the remaster and the original and just have a little fun looking back at what was included in that original game. All right, everybody, so here we are. Here is the Final Fantasy IX Switch version, and I really appreciate this box art. It showcases all of these really awesome characters from the game in this side profile. I do like it that they chose this design. I think it's really cool. So there's the front, and here is the back. And they just kind of talk about the different things that they offer. Some things I didn't mention here at the bottom. No encounter modes, so you can actually make it where you don't have any random encounters. So what's better than that? A more laid-back way to play the game. We have some cinematics featured here. Zidane and the Tantalus Theater Troupe have kidnapped Princess Garnet, the heir of Alexandria. To their surprise, however, the princess herself yearned to escape the castle and all the corruption that was happening. One thing I didn't mention earlier is that this game showed some really great story-driven use of the summons, the espers, the eidolons, the monsters that are all throughout the Final Fantasy games, and just made them kind of the center point here. So that was a big part of the story, which I appreciated. All right, so there is the Switch version, and of course we just have to look at the beautiful inside here. Beautiful stark white here. I just love the use of the whiteness. I'm kidding, of course. They should have done something with this. Not many game companies actually take advantage of the inside of the box. I've seen some companies actually have something here, like a little instruction manual. Very few of them, but I really like it when they do that. But here is the Switch cart with the crystal. Okay, so now let's get to the fun part. Let's look at the original box. So here is the original Final Fantasy IX in this big CD collection, because if you didn't know, back in the PlayStation 1 days, you could not fit gigabytes of data on one disc. I think it was maybe 300 and something megabytes. I could be wrong on that, but they had several discs. They actually had 4 discs, as you can see down here. But here is the front. So here's the back. The crystal comes back. Without question, Final Fantasy IX is the best looking game in the series. Every way, Final Fantasy IX takes the best of the old and mixes it with the best of the new. Let's open this bad boy up and see what's going on. I've got all my classics in these plastic sleeves that I found online. I think it's really neat to keep them in great condition. And this case is in really great condition, except for the minor crack over there. So there it is. Just love these original cases. There's just something about them that is really, really awesome. So there is the first disc. See the profile of Zidane there. You've got the construction manual. Let's see what's behind that. So we have the second disc here. And there's Garnet's, and you just have the place it sits in. And then we've got the other two discs here. There's disc 4 with VV. And then we have a little online strategy guide here, playonline.com. That's pretty cool. We'll take a look at that as well. We have disc 3 here with Steiner. Just two of my favorite characters from this game here. Love it. So let's put this to the side and look at the instruction manual. First, let's look at this online. Be able to play the game without needing a strategy guide. We have playonline.com, absolutely free, and there are some pictures of that website here. We got walkthroughs, we got characters, abilities, equipment, secrets. We have an ad for the the movie Final Fantasy's The Spirit Within, summer 2001. Big film that really did flop. I did see it recently and it actually wasn't too bad, but spent a lot of money on that those cinematics, those CG graphics back then. So very cool. And you could get t-shirts. Look at these t-shirts. So cool. So cool. I love that orange one. That's really neat. Lunch boxes and statues coming soon. And look at this. This is really cool. Wow, I don't think I've ever even taken the opportunity to look at this, but this is some really nice artwork. Wow, look at this. You don't get this today. You just don't get it today. Game developers, game companies, you need to do it again. There's our PlayStation 1. Had a lot of good games on the PlayStation 1. It was the golden era of JRPGs. And then, of course, the coolest part about the little manuals on the way home from the game store, I would just pour over these character portraits here. These amazing looking characters. Just thinking about what are these characters going to be like, and how is this story going to be in this game. The trances were really interesting in this game. Not quite like the limit breaks. They were kind of sort of random. You kind of chose when to do them, but didn't quite know when exactly they were going to happen. It wasn't as clear-cut as Final Fantasy VII, which I think was the best implementation of those special attacks. So there's a nice picture there. Here we go. We can go to a monthly drawing and win a cool Squaresoft game. All you had to do was fill out this card, and you could go with Final Fantasy Tactics. You could go with Bushido Blade or Bushido Blade 2, side quests, and mini games, and that about does it here. So look at that. That's really cool. Some Amano artwork here. Kind of almost looks like Celeste and Locke from Final Fantasy VI, but it's Zidane because he has a tail. So there you go. So neat to look back at these original cases and just see how awesome they were, and also to just look at what we have now. Hope you enjoyed looking through this with me today. It is such a special game to me. So that's it for today's video, everybody. I hope you enjoyed seeing me look back at Final Fantasy IX, hearing some nostalgic memories of this game and why I love it so much, and just the charm that this game has. Maybe this helped you make a decision on whether or not you want to try this game out. I'm sure on the eShop now it's very inexpensive to buy digitally. The physical version is also available out there, and it's just an awesome way to play this game. If you enjoyed today's video and you want to see more nostalgic look backs at these great games of the past, and you also want to see maybe some Switch games that you haven't thought about in this generation of the Switch as we look to the Switch 2 in the future, please make sure to do me a favor and like this video, subscribe to my channel. I come out with at least 2 videos a week, and I also make fuse bead art, so if you're interested in checking that out, I cover lots of different pixel art from classic games. Thank you all so much for watching. I pray that you have a fantastic day, and until next time, keep playing Final Fantasy, and happy gaming!